Hey everyone, welcome back to Stewart. So let me ask you something. What do you think is the absolute commander of your body? Like the real boss? Most of us would instantly assume it's the brain, right? Or, maybe the heart, or even the lungs. I mean, we're taught from day one that the brain is this ultimate CEO sitting up there in our skull, making all the big decisions. But what if I told you that you've been giving credit to the completely wrong organ your entire life?
Yep, it's actually your gut. No way, right? But it's true. Your gut literally commands your brain. It's not just some biological garbage disposal where you throw food in and just wait for it to process. It dictates who you are, how you behave, your overall mood, and even your personality. This is a total paradigm shift, and today we're going on a seriously mind-bending exploration of your own biology. Okay, let's dive into this. Today's explainer is a deep dive into the fascinating insights from the book Gut. We're going to take some incredibly complex, borderline sci-fi biology and decode it into everyday insights. By the end of this, I promise you, you're going to look at your stomach and your digestive system in a completely different light. Here is our quick roadmap for today. First, we'll look at why the gut is more important than the brain. Then, we'll explore the body's second brain, ask ourselves if we're actually humans or just bacteria, break down probiotics versus prebiotics, and finally, wrap up with some real ways to protect your gut.
All right, Section 1, more important than the brain.
We've got to completely smash this myth that your gut is just a simple grinder for your food. It is an unbelievably complex, life-saving mechanism that kicks in literally the second you take a bite. Think about this. Every single time you swallow, you're essentially performing a death-defying act. Seriously. Step 1, you chew. Easy enough. But step 2? That's where it gets wild. A tiny little flap called the epiglottis instantly snaps shut over your trachea, your windpipe, in a fraction of a microsecond. Then, step 3, your esophagus expands to safely receive that food. If there was even a microsecond delay, your food or drink would go straight into your lungs, which, well, that could be fatal. And the craziest part? The gut's nervous system handles this massive high-stakes process flawlessly, entirely on its own, without even bothering the primary brain.
Moving on to Section 2, the body's second brain. You can kind of think of your primary brain as that one extroverted coworker who takes all the credit, while the gut is doing literally all the heavy lifting behind the scenes. Just look at its hidden architecture. 4,300 square feet. Yes, you heard that number right. Thanks to these microscopic folds called villi and microvilli, your gut has a surface area equivalent to about 4 average-sized houses. It's an absolute masterpiece of biological engineering. It is perfectly designed to squeeze every single drop of nutrition from your food without taking up, a city block inside your torso. And the sheer scale doesn't stop there. 500 million. Your gut is packed with a staggering 500 million neurons. Plus, it has its own muscular rhythm that acts exactly like a peacemaker in a heart. Even if you were hanging completely upside down like a bat, this rhythmic muscle movement would just keep pushing your food in the right direction, totally defying gravity. And this next number brilliantly illustrates the real power dynamic here, 90%. A massive 90% of the communication flows from the gut to the brain, not the other way around. Your primary brain is basically just sitting up there, taking orders and getting status updates from your gut. It really proves who's actually running the show. So let's put a formal name to this. The enteric nervous system, or ENS, is quite literally your body's second brain. It's this vast network of neurons in the gut that makes decisions entirely independent of the primary brain. You know when you get literal butterflies in your stomach on a first date? Or that awful, physical, gut-wrenching feeling of jealousy when your neighbor buys a flashy new car? That is your ENS reacting to the world. When you're stressed, your primary brain diverts blood away from your stomach. Your gut senses that drop in blood flow and immediately reacts, creating those very real, very intense physical feelings.
And how exactly do these two brains talk to each other? Well, through the vagus nerve. Think of it as this massive, high-speed communication highway sending powerful command signals straight from the gut up to the brain. If your gut is inflamed, or if it's full of the wrong kind of bacteria, it uses this nerve to force your brain into a state of stress, anger, or even depression. But on the flip side, a healthy gut sends signals that trigger happiness and relaxation. So yeah, your mood is largely dictated by your digestion.
All right, Section 3, humans or bacteria. We need to dramatically shift our perspective right now. Biologically speaking, you are way less human and much more of a walking, talking bacterial superorganism. Check this out. You are officially outnumbered. There are roughly 1.5 times more bacteria inside you than actual human cells. This massive bacterial colony is seeded at birth, mostly passed down from your mom. And here's a beautiful example of how this works. A mother's breast milk contains these complex sugars that the human baby literally cannot even digest. So why are they there? Well, because those sugars are designed specifically to feed the good bacteria in the baby's gut, which then steps up to protect the baby. Mind-blowing, right?
So how do these microscopic hitchhikers actually control us? Well, they train about 80% of our immune cells, literally teaching them what to attack and what to ignore. They can trigger intense sugar cravings if you've been feeding the bad, sugar-loving bacteria too much. They even directly dictate weight gain. Scientists did this wild experiment where they took gut bacteria from an obese mouse and put it into a skinny mouse. The skinny mouse became obese while eating the exact same diet. No way, right? And in another crazy experiment, mice infected with a specific bacteria from cats actually lost their fear of cat urine. The bacteria manipulated the mouse's brain so it would get eaten, just so the bacteria could get back into a cat's gut. Talk about puppet masters.
Which brings us to Section 4, probiotics and prebiotics.
So, now that we know we're basically a superorganism controlled by microbes, how do we take care of it? There is a ton of confusion about this in the health world, so let's clear it up. Think of probiotics as tourists. These are the bacteria you get from those super expensive supplements. The problem? Most of them just die in your harsh stomach acid, and the few that survive, they're just visiting. They rarely settle down permanently. Prebiotics, on the other hand, are bacterial food. These are the fibers found in everyday stuff like garlic, onions, and bananas. Feeding your existing native good bacteria with prebiotic fiber is infinitely more effective than just swallowing tourist probiotic pills.
Finally, Section 5, ways to protect the gut. So, the crucial point is, how do we actually apply all this fascinating science to our daily lives? Let's run through some actionable steps you can start today. First, aim for about 30 grams of fiber daily, from things like chia seeds or guava. Load up on those prebiotic foods we just talked about, like garlic and onions. Also, fun fact, using Indian-style squad toilets actually naturally aligns your anatomy for much healthier waste removal. You definitely want to avoid high-fructose corn syrup. It's like an all-you-can-eat buffet for the worst bacteria. Never, ever misuse antibiotics. They are essentially an atomic bomb for your gut microbiome. If a doctor prescribes them, absolutely take the full course, but please don't just pop them for a minor cold. And lastly, eat a diverse, colorful plant-based diet to make sure you're feeding a wide, healthy variety of good bacteria.
I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. What are your gut bacteria telling you to do today? Are they down there begging for a sugary donut, or are they asking for a fibrous apple? Remember, you aren't just feeding yourself. You are feeding an entire ecosystem inside you that literally pulls the strings on your mood, your health, and your mind. Take care of your gut, and it'll take care of you. Thanks for checking out this explainer on Steward, and we will catch you on the next one.